Hi and welcome to Easy Fishing. As a fisherman, you can spend an awful lot of money on bait, but equally you can have your bait for nothing or for very little cost. And today I want to show you my wormery. It's under a cover because the frosts have arrived. So I'll just take the cover off. Now this is my wormery. This is a shop bought wormery. I think this particular model is about £90. I wouldn't buy another one at that price, couldn't afford it. But what it has done is it's paid for itself in the fact that it's enabled me to have worms 7 days a week for virtually nothing. So let me just give you a quick insight as to what is in it. Now, as you can see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 compartments, and this is how they work. In the top compartment is my food. So in the bottom compartment is a sump. I'm ready to clean this out now, so it's a good opportunity to show you. There's an odd worm or two in here. Nice healthy dendrobina. And all I'll do is I'll rinse this out, and the sludge is the best compost going for your garden. So let me go and empty this out. So you can see inside it is a baffle with a pump, and at the bottom there's a tap to drain out any liquid. Which I just hang a small bucket underneath and turn the tap, drain the liquid off. The next compartment up. This compartment is full of compost. Every gardener's dream. Now I'm going to empty this out because it needs changing, because that is pure worm castings. There's odd scraps in it, but I won't worry about them for the moment. Let's just get this cleared out. So what I'm going to do is, just using a trowel and a pair of plastic gloves, is empty that compost into a riddle and into a bowl, just to make sure I get all the worms out. So that's the first step. Let's get that done. And there are some superb worms in here, which I'll just take out. Any worms that I miss will, because worms don't like light, they will work their way through. Right, so what's left here is the perfect compost for your garden. So just for the moment, I'm just going to empty that into another bowl. And this I will deposit straight on my flower beds and dig it all in. What we're left with is an empty compartment full of drain holes to allow water to drain through into the sump, and thence into the bucket. So that's ready to receive its next lot of bedding. So the next step is just to put some rainwater out of my water butt, soak the newspaper slightly, that'll all drain through any excess to the bottom sump where I can drain it out of just by turning the tap. Then, because I'm a good old country boy, make sure that's all nicely wet. Yeah, all the excess is drained through. I'm going to fill the bottom layer, the new worm bed, good old farmyard manure. Plenty of fibres in it. Spread it out evenly. Break up any big lumps. Now the worms will love this. So the next thing I'm going to do is add some worms. So I'm going to go to one of my other containers. First of all, I'll remove the worms that are visible on top. When I lift this, oh, there we go, look, lots of them. There we are. Took the newspaper for the moment. Lots of worms. Now, in the top of this I have a rather strange mix of what I feed my worms on, which is mostly tea bags, and as you can see it's absolutely crawling with them. So what I'm going to do is just transfer some handfuls of worms in here. Underneath this they're turning it to compost nicely. They seem to thrive on tea bags, vegetable peelings. Old scraps of paper. And that there I'll spread evenly across. And then I'm going to add some more bedding and some more food. In this case, it's some egg cartons. And an old pizza box. And what I'm just going to do is tear them up small. Put them in a bucket and soak them for a few seconds. And I would always use rainwater to soak them, not tap water. So let's just pop that there. Tear these up. The smaller the better, really. The worms are broken down, and worms love this kind of material. They can lay their eggs in it. but you can add paper towels, napkins, anything like that. Any vegetable scraps you have. Avoid citrus fruits and onions. They don't seem to like that so much. They will tolerate a little bit, but not very much. It changes the acidity. So I just don't bother. I use potato peelings, carrot trimmings, leeks, all that sort of stuff. So I just put some more newspaper on top, soak it with some rainwater. It just needs to be damp, not saturated. And tuck the worms up. Now, what I'm going to do now is just put, for the moment, I'm just going to take that bottom tray out and swap it over. So I'm just going to lift that out because that's a new tray ready to go. Pop that there for a minute. Take one of the trays I took off, put that in there, like so. Spread it all out. Yes, plenty of worms in there. It's still composting, so we'll give them a chance to work a bit more. And then I'll take the tray. I'll just add the paper that was in the other one. I haven't broken that down yet. I'll then take what was the top tray, move that one down one. So as you can see, what I'm basically doing is rotating the trays. This one full of food, potatoes that haven't broken down yet, but also crammed full of worms. So we'll just let them carry on working on that. Pop the newly set up tray on top. Pop the lid back. And we're good to go. So there's my wormery. I've taken some high quality compost out. My worms are healthy. Put a new layer in on the top here, and I'll let the other ones work their way through the compost. And this is how you do it. You just rotate them. Now I would say it takes between about, I think the breeding cycle for dendrobinas is about 3 to 4 months. I don't know exactly. But mine are breeding like mad. So yeah, let them carry on. Each time I use worms to go fishing, any that are left over, I pop them in. If I'm just going for a short session and grab a small tub of dendrobinas, any that are left over get popped in. I keep a container to put tea bags, vegetable waste in, and once a week I will top this up. But there's no point in cramming it full of waste. Just put food in for them and let them chomp their way through it. So if you get one of these, it'll pay for itself very quickly. Now this was quite an expensive one. It was 90 quid. It's a great wormery, but it wasn't cheap. But this, if you think that if you go into a shop, £1/4 of a kilo of dendrobinas is about £8.50 or thereabouts, depending where you go. A kilo of worms is worth, we'll say for argument's sake, £35. You only need to harvest 3 kilos of worms out of here and it's paid for itself, and it will carry on going and going as long as you periodically rotate it, clean it out, so it's, you know, not got any bacterial diseases in. Not that bacteria stand much chance with worms around because they eat the flipping lot. But there you have it. Just I'll open the tap now, just drain any water that I've just put in. There you go. And incidentally, water that you drain out of here is one of the best things you can water your garden with. Dilute it about 50-50 with rainwater. I think the Americans delightfully call it worm tea. Costs a small fortune in the shops, should you buy it. But there we have my wormery. Now what I will be doing in the future is showing you how to build a budget wormery on your own using some plastic totes, because while this is really nice, it is expensive and a lot of people couldn't justify it. But now I've got it, it will go for years and years and years. And since we're in the winter frost season, just for the moment I'm tucking it to bed. Now it has some ventilation holes in the top there. It's important to have air circulating for these worms. And because it's really cold, I'm going to cover it over, stop the worst of the frost getting in it. When it gets really bad, it'll go in my garage. So what I've got is just a roll of leftovers of old cushion flooring. I'll just drape that over it. And it can sit there. I put a brick underneath it to allow for good air flow. I'll just let it sit there and work its magic. I'll take worms out when I need them, I'll put worms in it, I'll feed it from time to time when it needs it. It's costing me nothing to run, scraps. You know, to start it off, I used a bag of manure. Yeah, well worth the effort. Now you don't even need a garden for one of these. One of these, if you live in a flat with a balcony, you can sit on your balcony. It does not smell. There's no odour from this at all. And the odour you get from the liquid is kind of rich and earthy, and plants love it. And the stuff that I've just, the 2 bowls I got out of the bottom, I've put on my flower border, and I will dig them in for the winter bedding. So by next spring that ground will be beautiful for planting, and my ground needs all the help it can get because it's basically clay, stone, flint and not a great bit of soil. But there you go, get one of these or something similar. I'll show you how to make another cheap version of it. And if you're like me and use a lot of worms for fishing, especially in the winter, because I target perch a lot in the winter, both on the canal and the rivers, and the #1 bait for perch is worms, you're halfway there. Anyway, hope this has been helpful. I had a comment from someone that asked me to show them a wormery, so there you have a wormery, and that's how I look after it. So until then, until later, thanks for watching Easy Fishing, and I'll get back to you with some more videos, fishing, hints, tips, money saving ideas, reviews, all sorts of stuff. So until then, tight lines. Bye for now.